We're just sitting here watching American Pickers with the sound off.
No audio.
This guy's got like a whole garage full of like old Catholic art and.
Oh, he must be an art collector. He's a Filipino. Anyway, long story short, it's a great episode, and I always skip. You ever watch this show?
No, the only place I've turned it on is here. I walk. Whenever I come here to do the podcast, it's always on, and I always think, oh, I should check this out, and then I get home and totally forget about it.
So I got really emotionally invested in this fucking show. And the reason I got invested in this show is Mike. I forget his last name now, but anyway, Mike, from Mike and Frank, he's amazing. This is what he did for a living. And then this motherfucker decides he has an idea for a show and he thought people would get into it. Okay? With nothing, he put together a pilot with Frank, even Frank doubting him. Okay? And he was up every facet of Discovery's ass to buy this program. And let's face it, at the end of the day, the History Channel is probably in part built. If there's 4 legs to the History Channel table, American Pickers is one of those legs. So he's basically in another industry doing what we're trying to do. And when I see a guy like this from fucking just over the Illinois border in Iowa do it with less than we have, that's what I look at, and I try to follow and model myself or ourselves, or our thinking at least, off of somebody like this. I bet you this guy gets 75 to 100 grand an episode.
Well, probably.
Maybe more. And they're always, look at all the seasons, so there's no off season for them. So he's got to be a hardworking guy, and it's just something like, for him, like when we talk about Patreon and this podcast, yes, of course, on some parts he's, I'm not going to say putting up a front, but he's a likable guy because he doesn't have a lot of bullshit between you and him, Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes I've watched all these motherfuckers except for the last season. I gotta go and see which ones I missed, because whatever. But it's been an awesome decompressing show for me. When I come home on Saturday after the day I've had, which you know the day I've had.
Yeah.
Because we run every week. I can put this on and mindlessly decompress. So today, I'm out running around. I'll put it on as background noise. And as you know, outside of swimming, for the most part, I band workout, and I work out with my body weight at home. This is a nice thing to have on in the background, and the cats seem to like it. But anyway, yeah. So everything I do just about is in one way, shape, or form touching upon what I'm trying to achieve for us.
Yeah, and you know what, we've talked about this before. Like people, the so-called experts, they've got their blueprints and algorithms and what have you, but it's like, how do you really succeed? You really succeed by, you follow words or you follow examples. Which one's going to lead you to success?
Well, exactly. Now, I talked about a lot of things. So what a lot of people don't know is we used to be the North American Wrestling Federation. And I was coming off of a business that I was making a lot of money at. And I had myself a healthy fucking monthly nut. You know what I mean? I had a $300,000 home at one point, and the cars. I had 2 new cars, leased cars for my corporations, and I formed different corporations for the different businesses that I did, and I had money. What happened with the telemarketing fundraising industry is I just decided the most successful guy in our industry, who actually came to me to forge a relationship because I was an expert at business to business, wanted to subcontract work from me because he had heard about, of course everybody heard about, the success that I had and the things that I was doing, which were just very different. I didn't reinvent the wheel. That's one thing I don't do, is reinvent the wheel. But I know how to fucking hone that wheel, balance that wheel, keep that wheel aligned. You know what I mean? And I can say, this percentage goes toward legal. This percentage of what we make goes toward software, computers. This percentage, you know what I mean? And I can do the math pretty well in my head. As you know that it's street math basically, but it's very honed street math. So he said to me one day, that's what this industry's about. It is a battle that the attorney generals will always come after us for, and you have to ask yourself a question: if you can't take this kind of heat, you might be in the wrong industry. And I said, you asshole, because I couldn't get that out of my fucking head. You know? So I shifted from one industry. I said to myself, what the fuck do I know? What do I know? I am of very limited education. I left home right before my 15th birthday, to be honest with you. And I don't even have a sophomore education, really. I don't even think I passed some. But anyway, what do I know? What do I know is wrestling. From the inside out. Leaving home and taking that fucking risk for a 3-day tryout in Memphis and staying and figuring my way with all the cards stacked against me to stay down there for 9 months. You know? Befriending people like Eddie Marlin, Paul Neighbors, Frank Morrell, the talent, and also Jerry Jarrett. That's what I know. So, I tried to shift gears. You know, I started to shift gears into something else, and that's how we started. So, NAWF was doing good, and then I wanted to do some work with TNA, Total Nonstop Action. And I don't even know if you know this either, come to think of it. I did not want to work for them, Justin. I had already seen what happened with Money Marks because I was very close to Mike Lima, who used to work for Barry Fox, who were groundbreaking promoters, you know, operating in their own companies as independent contractors for World Wrestling Entertainment. Then they ended up being promoters for WCW the last 5 years they were in business, you know. I saw what happened with WCW first because I was etched, or North American Wrestling Federation was etched, our paperwork was being processed to become a feeder to WCW, you know. North American Wrestling Federation, Donnie and Ronnie Harris, the Harris boys, or what people might know as the Bruise Brothers, or what people might know as...
if you were a fan of WWF in the mid-90s, they were Skull and 8-Ball in the DOA. And before that, they were Jacob and Eli Blue working with
That's right.
Dunch Mantel when he was Uncle Zebekiah.
That's right. And both of those guys then, I mean, were Brody clones. But anyway, long story short, these were some tough, real life, not these weekend warriors that got 60 grand to blow on a bike. These were real life, tough ass bikers with pasts. You know, they were 6'8" and 6'9", Donnie and Ronnie. Okay, but anyway, Donnie and Ronnie could work for. They would be on Thunder, Nitro on Monday, Thunder on Tuesday, as WCW champions. They were there. I think the powers to be. I think that was the name. But anyway, they had the champion, the belts. They would come in and work for me in Jefferson, Wisconsin on a Wednesday. And I would draw a crowd, you know. When Haku was, or Ming was their hardcore champion, he was my North American Federation Wrestling heavyweight champion. You know what I mean? So it was, I bring Terry Taylor in, but not to scout talent. I brought Terry Taylor in to perform. You know what I mean? And I was there at the end, and I saw what happened when you have people with money or people with power, and I'm talking about Bischoff and Russo, firsthand, how many people got fucked by their stupid ideas and reckless behaviors, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Mike Lima, who worked for WCW then, and I was also doing extra work for WCW because I was getting $500 a fucking night.
Yeah, why the hell not?
Yeah, so when you're picking up, let's see, 5 pay-per-view and the tapings 2 a week, 2 a week, 4 times 5 is $2,000, then a pay-per-view. So I was getting $2,500 a month from WCW. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Ingratiating myself and getting my bullshit together. It was really cool. Had television in the Madison UPN station, which was Madison blows for wrestling. I don't even think Vince goes there if he can help it.
I don't think so.
You know?
He sticks to Milwaukee, I think.
AWA and Vern Gagne did some great business in Madison, but something really screwed up the culture in that town because they don't know their head from their ass or what they are. You know what I mean? And this happened long before Hillary and fucking Trump. But anyway, so what I learned from having that television that I produced for 52 weeks was Rockford was the area for us to focus on. Rockford, Jefferson County, and Walworth County. That's where our TV went into, so that's where we ran, you know. And it was very successful. I did no advertising outside of my TV show after the first 6 months. Now then, Justin, I took a risk. Don't be, you need help? I'll help you. The cat, he's clawing on the new leather couch. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, of course, you get something new, he's got to fucking wreck it, don't you fat bastard?
So, I was able to take risks because I had a little bit of seed money, you know, and I was able to finance some of my risks, you know. Taking on that television was a risk, and I had put 6 months of my own self-finances in there to actually pay for it, dude. The last 6 months put me back at square one, put me back in the fucking black, okay? Pardon me. And after the, so that's when we found out about my youngest kid's heart defect. And I knew goddamn well when it came time to renew that contract, there's no way I'd be able to work that hard, you know? Now, because it takes a lot of work to run, God, 4 businesses, travel with WCW every week, and produce a fucking television. You know what I mean?
On top of the emotional weight of knowing your kid has a heart condition.
And 44 events we ran that year in different venues, you know? So, anyway, all those risks I took put us back in the black. That's like unheard of, you know? I learned in my first business how to make something from nothing. So when I went to work for TNA Wrestling, I did not want to work for TNA Wrestling. North American Wrestling Federation had an arm for selling shows, and it was called Pro Wrestling All-Stars. And Pro Wrestling All-Stars was a corporation. I would sell shows. What I mean by that is there was a small company, a small fire EMT that served a huge area down in Robersonville, North Carolina. It's not like up here. I mean, these guys were hard-working motherfuckers that covered a lot of ground. Maybe not population, but they have to travel like a motherfucker to get there, and they have to get there in record fucking time because everything was so far away, you know? They were hard-working guys. Their community loved them, and I showed them how to do an annual event that netted them $10,000 in profit every fucking year.
Shit.
Yeah, because I knew about fundraising. So I took those ideas and said, hey, the bottom line is this. The old industry is a percentage. You guys are from North Carolina. You guys are hustlers. You guys aren't above doing the fucking work and rolling your fucking sleeves up. That's why everyone loves you. Get the fuck out there. And not saying that they owe you, but I would say that they're all going to feel like they got to fucking honor you. You know? You know what those assholes did?
I can only imagine.
They took a little bit toward their fund. They donated the rest of it to a fucking handicap facility, mentally handicapped adults and youth.
How about that?
Fucking good people, you know? But anyway, they disbanded and went to the wind because, you know, they just... They were the salt of the earth people. And, you know, the bottom line is there's just not the funding down there for things like that. When that shit started to get slashed under Barry a long time ago, so these poor assholes were expected to almost not even be full-time employees anymore, you know? And at the time, EMS didn't really have a fucking union that looked out for them. The fire departments, the fire units wouldn't touch them. So, the last one I ran was down there, and on my main event, might not have been that. No, it might have been down there, or it might have been Greenville, North Carolina, which was right there. We did 2 or a couple, 3 for the Greenville Fire Department, which was right there. And the way they would do it is they would each bring us in twice a year, and then I'd say they would every 3 months they would bring us in, and they would alternate. Really good people, you know. So I have brought in Ron Killings. When I would run the Carolinas or South, I would always bring in Ronnie Killings. I've always loved Ronnie Killings. Where the hell did I know Ronnie from? I don't remember. But anyway, I would always bring Ronnie in. And here's an example. When I got my knee reconstructed, one of the Greenville shows, I didn't... You know, this is right after WCW closed. So me and Terry have been talking every fucking day. And then when he quit, we talked twice a day. Or when they quit, when they fired him and fucking burnt my papers, then we would talk every day because of fucking depression. You know? It was fucked up. There's nowhere to make any money anymore if you couldn't go and work for Vince. You know what I mean? So Terry was fucked the fuck up. So what I would do was I would try to pump him up with little shit like when I ran Muskogee, Oklahoma, that was a Bill Watts town. And it hadn't been done in 15, 20 years, but Muskogee, Oklahoma, the city actually bought a show for me. And the main event, they didn't have a lot of money, but I gave them the best I could for the money that they had. I put Terry Taylor against Kamala too. Well, they worked down there before together for Watts. You know what I mean? So it meant something. It drew a nice crowd. Terry lived in Lilburn, Georgia, which wasn't close, but wasn't that far. I would take good care of him, and even though I had to get my knee reconstructed because that motherfucker ripped, you know, instead of making that trip like a fucking hammerhead via car or airplane, I said, fuck it. I'm going to hire you to perform and run the show. He's like, what? I'm like, are you serious? You're intimidated to run a house show? You and Arn ran fucking Nitro for the last year by yourselves. You got this, you know? So that's what I would do. And then I would teach Terry magical things like which he didn't do in his era, which we had to do to survive. Get a motherfucking Polaroid camera and some film. You know, so then you can double your income when you come for these shots, you know. And he did real well. But Ronnie showed up fucked up and late. And whenever I saw Ronnie or used Ronnie, I would always say, not fucked up drunk, just high. Ronnie liked to smoke reefer, you know, which is acceptable today, but it wasn't then. This is the onset of drug awareness and bullshit in the industry, right. You know. And the only reason he wasn't working for Vince was that, you know, because he smoked reefer. He likes to smoke pot. I don't know if he does anymore, but whatever. It doesn't matter if he does or doesn't. He's functional. It's not like alcohol or drugs, you know, and it's acceptable. It's not acceptable. I don't know what the trend is. It's almost illegal, so let's face it. Legal. This shit's going to be legal. So, you know what I mean? It's like some people drink beer. Some people like Ronnie smoke fucking a little reefer, you know? So, he showed up late with, he showed up late and high, and Terry just took him aside and said, look, I'm taking this very fucking seriously, asshole. My friend sells this show, and he depends on this show, and my friend, you know, turned me on to working indies, turned me on to how to double my merchandise, and also paying me extra for my family, and I haven't had a paycheck in this long, to run the fucking show. I expect that you'll fucking show up here. Maybe if you took this shit a little more serious, motherfucker, you might be working for Vince again. Which I loved, you know. So anyway, the main event in that one was Jeff Jarrett still had some namesake from WCW, and Ronnie Killings had some from TNA because he was the TNA champion. So I brought in, I want to say, I can't remember, an undercard. The undercard, I don't know. Norman Smiley was on that card. He wrestled me a long time. I think
Smiley
I brought
a long
in,
time. Or, yeah, Smiley a long time. I'd like to see that.
Oh, it was real good. So anyway, I forget. So a legend was on the not the undercard, but as part of that card. It was either Bundy or Honky. No, it was supposed to be Haku. No, it was supposed to be Barbarian. But Barbarian went to Greenville, North Carolina instead of Greenville, South Carolina. You know, he lived right there. He actually drove twice as far in the wrong direction. But God bless, what am I going to do? Fucking call him out? You know what I mean? So
you do that.
We drew 3,000 people. At least 2,000 people, okay? Vince was in town, and he was at Raleigh-Durham, which was 80 miles up the road that same night. So passing through, I had Casey James, I want to say, I don't know what the fuck he was on Vince's roster. He was tagging with Sandow. And so we touched base and said, hey, let's meet at the fucking Waffle House at Raleigh-Durham at this exit, you know, when you guys are done and we're done. So we finished about the same time. He's there. Oh, I love Chet the Jet Jablonski, by the way. He was there. And you know who was there? The fucking Miz. You know? What a good, respectful fucking kid he was.
You know, that's one guy I can honestly say I was so wrong about when he first came in. I thought this guy's gonna be nothing. He's screwing up every time he's on the mic, and prove me wrong.
Well, this is what I want to talk about, and you can go ahead and use this as a thumbnail because I guess he means the most of what we're going to talk about to the, pardon me, to the mainstream. Okay, he's a little fucking guy, okay, and I don't pay a whole hell of a lot of attention to the experts and the bullshit. But one thing I did know about him is they were all brutally burying him. Meltzer, who's the other one?
I don't know anybody outside
the
of Meltzer.
Observer and the Torch. They were the top.
Yeah,
bricks.
I know the Torch. I can't remember the name of the guy who
runs Wrestling, One Wrestling, whatever the big website was, and then all the fucking internet marks were trashing this guy. Now I didn't know who he was, and I think, well, if he's so terrible a wrestler, what does Vince see in him? He sees money. He sees money. So anyway, we see this guy, and I think he was being killed off, going to get fired. Casey gave me a little bit of 911 on the fucking guy. Said he just wants to learn. He let me know that the guy knows he's the fucking shits, but the door is open. He wants to fucking get over. Okay, this is back 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago.
This started with Vince in 06, I want to say. So
all right, 15 years
better
ago.
part of 15 years.
No, he did it in 06 because I was working for TNA in 06. Unless it was early 06.
Might have been early 06, late 05.
Yeah, either way, he was getting shit canned. But, goddamn, man, he was up my ass in such a respectful way. You know how I am about nut swingers. You've seen how uncomfortable I get about nut swingers.
Oh, I've never seen that, sir. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
He was up my ass in a respectful, I'm trying to learn my shit. What better motherfucker to learn from while I have a few minutes? The kid that trained Casey James. And everybody in the company, including Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr., knew what a great worker Casey was. And a lot of that, you know, he learned on his own with his balls and going out there, but I taught him a lot, you know. And I was just like, wow, I'm really impressed with this little guy, you know. He wasn't as thick. He didn't have much of a fucking body. But it was a pleasant experience, and he's likable. So you get that feeling from him face to face, and I could see that's why Vince is with this kid. That is potential, you know. If he can meet us halfway and we take a little bit of a risk, and then we take a little bit more of a risk, and we push him, see what the fuck happens. Well, look at that motherfucker today. Isn't this fucking show with his wife and family doing good too?
Yeah, he's got the Ms. and Mrs. He's held just about every title in the company, and again, like 15 years working for Vince McMahon when most people don't even make it 3 or 4.
He was being shit canned or was shit canned. He was finishing up, no contract, okay, but he didn't want to be. The thing with him is, again, it was about sincerity and humility. This kid was humble. And that's why Chicago Tards never get anywhere. There's no humility in these motherfuckers. You know? I was watching, I never do this, but I've been tempted to. Sunday's background noise, you know? I'm trashed from Saturday. I am trashed. You know, physically, my knees hurt, and mentally and emotionally, because it takes so much out of me to book all that shit. You know, week after week by myself. And
then you're also doing commentary with me while trying to H&M while trying to book. So I think anybody would be just completely knocked out come Sunday morning.
Yeah, and I love it, and I'm good at it. It's undeniable that I'm good at it. You know, I know by the way I look at you guys and the way I look at the fans. But anyway, so I was watching this goofy 80s show on of all channels, National Geographic. You know, background noise. I gotta have something on or my fucking nervous system will go batshit, you know. So they're talking about the 80s, and it was an episode where it was an 80s show, 80s base, hosted by Rob Lowe, which I hope they get to that motherfucker porking those 2 teenagers on film. I don't know why he always gets a fucking break. But anyway, so they were talking about the making of I forget the name of the song, but Feed Africa, We Are the World.
Oh,
we are the children.
It was called We Are the World.
Quincy Jones produced that shit, you know? And he said, they asked him if he was intimidated. He goes, motherfucker, I work with Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. I ain't intimidated by shit. But he said, all I did was put a giant sign up above the fucking door that says, leave your ego here. And they produced some brilliant shit that raised so much money.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I think that's I think that's still one of the best selling singles of all time.
It's amazing, you know? But you know, I love that shit, but I look at that and that's how I try to run our shit. So when I see something like that, again, everything I do, I'm always thinking about our shit. You know? And I say, now that's something that he could pass that on. He could create an atmosphere like that. I can do that, and I am doing that with our guys. And that's what separates them from the rest of the idiots and gets them the attention. Mm-hmm. And it takes a hell of a person to be able to do that, and a hell of a personality too, to try to do that, you know. And then you got to lead that shit by example, which is rough too. So, what I wanted to do with TNA wrestling, so I drew 2,300 people. Vince was in Greenville, not Raleigh, Durham. He only drew 3,000 on a house show.
No shit.
Well, that popped everybody. The Kid, The Miz, how'd you guys do? Really? We only did 3,000 people in Raleigh, Durham. You know? So, you see what I'm saying? With all those avenues that they had to promote. Jeff Jarrett knew that. I had Jeff Jarrett wrestle Ron Killings in my main event for the TNA title. Did it mean much? Not fucking really. Nobody gave a fuck. They hadn't ran a house show, and I basically was, you know, that's why Jeff wanted me to work for them. You know? Was because they had no idea to run fucking house shows, which is amazing to me because, I guess it's not amazing because Jeff was busy being one of the boys. He was also going to college, you know what I mean? While working the territory. But he didn't watch his old man because he asked me at the fucking, how the fuck did you learn all this shit on top of the working? Because I worked on those events too. It saved me money. Sometimes it worked twice if it made sense, you know? Save money, you know? You have to optimize. I would have to sell a product. I would have to do what they say. Don't undersell, over deliver. Because I look at it like this. If I did those events for 3-4 years, you know what I mean? Then if I go down there twice a year and it puts this much in my pocket and my annual nut, it's a month I don't have to worry. You know what I mean? So that's how I would do my business, you know? So, that's when he started to pursue me. Him and Ronnie had a great match. Him and Ronnie were fighting. Even though Ron was the current TNA champion, he just finished up with them and he was going to quit. You know? And we had something going in IWA, Puerto Rico at the time. And Jerry Jarrett, myself, had an investor named Sandy Polfel that was in a contract where he was going to put $500,000 into IWA Puerto Rico. You know? So Jeff and Jerry were fighting like crazy. They hated each other. No. Jeff fucked his dad, and his dad hated Jeff at the time. He was hurt, you know? So, I'm the only guy in the country or the world that was talking to both Jeff and Jerry at the same time. See what I'm saying? And they're my friends, so I'm not fucking trying to get over with nobody. My motives were pure. At the end of the day, Jerry is not going to last forever. We gotta fix your fucking problems. You know? I love you guys, both of you then. You know what I mean? And they just couldn't come together, you know? It got so bad that when Jerry was so angry at the Carters and Jeff that he literally blew the IWA deal. And it was irreparable because I couldn't go direct with Sandy Polfel to save the thing. And I was going to save the thing and not cut Jerry out. You know? Jerry actually believed that the Carters and Jeff were paying me to infiltrate that. And I'm like, how can you say this, Jerry, when I'm the fucking guy who brought it to you? You know what I mean? That's how far gone he was mentally, emotionally. Wasn't the same Jerry after his heart attack or heart issues, you know? Had glimpses of it, but he was just a brilliant guy. And man, all I know is this, within the first week of me presenting the video to Jerry That shit was shown to Mark Cuban, and when Jerry set up a meeting with another guy, a lawyer, and Mark Cuban, that is when Mark Cuban first opened his mind, and that any asshole television program that's been on on Access TV, they can thank me, because I'm the one behind selling that shit to Mark Cuban and getting him pay for it. You can thank fucking me, okay, and Jerry, of course. And
little asterisk next to Jerry's name.
But within a week that had happened, and also Dollar General had offered us $1 a DVD and buy 50,000 of them at a time.
Huh.
You know? But anyway, the deal got all fucked up, and that is why. So I wasn't ready to give up on TNA. I just said to on IWA, because I had so much invested in there. You know? I went down, I went down and ingratiated myself with the people. You know what I mean? I learned every facet. I told you all, and told you, Justin, how I knew their video library better than they did, okay? I says, well, fuck, Jeff wants me to work there. I don't want to work there, but here's what I want to do, okay? I didn't want to go someplace where the Marks were in charge again. Now, I am not calling my wrestling fans the customer of Mark. I am calling someone like Dixie Carter, who's playing fucking live wrestling dolls with human beings, and fucking with their livelihood, and fucking with their lives, creating a false hope, and then when they insert their bullshit in, they're thinking they know better than the fucking people that know the industry, fucking killing them off, and watch the hope leave their faces and drain, and the victims and the fucking pile of bodies behind her. So no, Dixie Carter was never charming. Dixie Carter was never sweet, and she was never a southern lady. You know, she's an asshole. You know, so what I wanted to do was not be that asshole. I wanted to subcontract to them, and this is where you're going to love what the fuck my intention was. At the time, they had Matt Morgan. You know who that is?
Matt Morgan, yeah. They used to call him the Blueprint.
Yeah. Now, Matt was a great young talent with a fucking look and a giant motherfucker. The problem was Vince tried to put, not Vince, the company, WWE, he started there. They tried to push him before he was ready. You had Tyson fucking Tomko. Same fucking shit, Justin. Tried to push him before he was ready. They will humbly admit to you they needed to learn. You know? And then you had Lance Hoyt, which I didn't know very well. But I liked him when I met him.
He was one of the first guys that really stood out to me when I started watching TNA.
Yeah. And then what'd they do with him?
He was a solo big guy for a while. It looked like they were going to give him not so much a push, but maybe just a little bit more of a nudge toward a little higher in the card. But then they slapped him with what was that guy's name?
And Christy Hemme is the fucking manager.
Jimmy Rave, yeah, and all of a sudden he's coming out dressed like Slash, wearing a top hat and a little Guitar Hero
They didn't put any time or money into the motherfucker, but the point of it is that was a big guy that could fucking move with a good body, okay? And nice, humble guy, you know? So, what my idea was, well, let's come together on this instead, Jeff. This is what I'd rather do, okay? Listen to this. When Victor Quinones died, you know, I did what I did in Puerto Rico. I went down in Puerto Rico and I ran my first show the first time down there. I gained their trust, showed them what I could do, and earned their respect, and used Miguel's license. You know, I ran Yabacoa on a Saturday night when Carlos was in the same building on a Friday night with Jazz, whoever her man's was then, and Heidenreich. Right when they left WWE, so they were fresh names on TV. He drew 50 people, I drew 2,000 people with no fucking names.
Shit.
Yeah, I just promoted. You know, I learned how to take advantage of the opportunities and the resources on the island, and the Puerto Ricans love me. My game plan was to work with TNA Wrestling, primarily Jeff Jarrett, to fucking partner up on the fucking cards, okay? You had Matt Morgan, you had Lance Hoyt, and Tyson Tomko. What I wanted to do was, okay, they were all under a contract. have them fucking come down and work with IWA 4 nights a week under the guise of Miguel, especially Savio Vega, and Luke Williams. Okay? They're going to get seasoned 4 nights a week, and they would fly into Florida, Orlando for the fucking tapings and the pay-per-views, cheap as a motherfucker. Then, no investment, Justin. We would go halfsies. We would partner up with IWA and TNA on the gates. Can you imagine? I mean, how many years ago is this? 06. So let's say 15 years ago, when those guys were in their prime and young, how much they could have achieved and where they would be learning how to work 4 nights a week?
You can only imagine.
That's what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And it just couldn't get done because I didn't realize it at the time, but I didn't realize that the way Jeff was presenting it was that he was the be-all, end-all, and the son at TNA roasting setting his ass, and that's just not what happens. And I should have known that myself whenever you got fucking people with money that are marks. Because they shot themselves in the fucking foot. They could have been turning what they were paying those guys into a revenue stream. Give me a fucking chance to promote. Let fucking Luke book them and book their fucking finishes. Teach those guys how to work. They're only going to enhance whatever the fuck they do at TNA. And you're going to get half that fucking gate? You know what I mean? It was more than they were doing. So, my ex-wife was pissed off at me because of what happened with Jarrett and Sandy Polfo and the investors with IWA Puerto Rico. She was just a horrible, mean, rotten human being. Calling me a piece of shit, uneducated, blah, 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 loser, you know. I said, you know what, fuck you, man. I could call Jeff Jarrett right now and go to work there. I don't want to. I don't want to be an employee there. I see the writing on the wall. You know? I'll work with them, the resources that I think are worth a fuck. You know what I mean? And the revenue streams that would have worked. Like I told you, there's absolutely no way. No one in the world can tell me that we would have lost with what I was telling you in Puerto Rico. You know? Their roster, the larger-than-life motherfuckers actually learning how to work. You know? The only people, that situation, that's the only situation that ever made Abyss worth a shit, was working with those guys, being agented by Savio and booked by fucking Luke and Dutch. You know? But the problem was is that when he went to work for TNA, he didn't have to listen to nobody. And he couldn't book himself, you know? Yeah. So, do you understand what I'm saying? You've got 3 other motherfuckers that are more marketable than Abyss. More marketable than a hardcore fucking Mick Foley ripoff. Those guys are all good-looking motherfuckers with a look. You know what I mean? Yep. And humility. You know? So I sold out and I went to work for him. You know? But while I was there, I got to implement a lot of things and take some risks. And after me and Dutch, or Dutch taught me, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I got to try so many things and ideas that I had to enhance that I thought would work with wrestling in the current climate. Educated fan plus casual fan. Fuck, man. All I did was give me more confidence because I knew where the fuck my mind was, what I was thinking, watching it being implemented and work, and even like you said, some of it to be the highest rated fucking programming in TNA Impact's history when it was on Spike. You know what I mean? That was great. That was good shit. You know? So, that's what I bring to the table here. And that's what Premier Pro Wrestling shit is based on. Then what you're looking at is the hardest working fucking young motherfuckers there are in the industry today that are humble and listen because I won't have it any other way. I won't work with pricks. You know? And I protect and I defend these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, the pedigree of this organization it's incredible. Like you said, it used to be a North American Wrestling Federation,
yeah,
which used to bring in guys like you got to get that.
No, we're good.
Okay, used to bring in guys like Dusty Rhodes, like Meng, and what is now the Premier Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship used to be held by guys like Dusty Rhodes and Meng.
Yeah.
And then, as you just got done telling the story about...
I never made myself champion, not once.
You don't say.
No, isn't that funny?
But you would have been the only one to draw. These kids don't know how to work, man.
Well, the funny thing is, I probably could have drawn at one point, but I didn't. You know, what I did was, you know, what my first real gimmick was when we got television. And I did this on purpose for the people, because, you know, at the end of the day, I was watching again, and everybody knew it was a fucking work, and everybody knew that the Favesy would be the champ. You know what I mean? Vince's shit, the Thunder Nitro, and then this indie crap, okay? When we started television, I was rocking Randy, who was in a slump. And I was losing all my matches and couldn't figure out why. So, in one card, I fucking lost 3 matches in a row on one of the TVs. They didn't know it at the time, but I was training this kid that was playing music. That was his paying dues, was to play the audio, you know, run the microphones and the music from way the fuck up here. It wasn't like it is today in the building in Edgerton, Wisconsin. I said, no, that's it. I can't take this. I can't leave this. I can't leave this fucking place without a victory. Music guy, get down or I'm going to kick the shit out of you. You know, so he comes down there, and as I'm going to beat the shit out of him, he fucking slipped in a banana peel and he pinned me.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
No, I really did this shit, Justin. I'm not kidding you. I beat myself. I put everybody over. I made sure I put everybody over.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to be accused of that shit, but it was entertaining too.
Oh my God. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass when I say that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm laughing. Really I'm laughing just trying to picture it.
Oh, it was fucking awesome. The people loved it, and it got over on TV. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And then the show is just so. That's how I run a fucking company, because I didn't want anybody to. I didn't want anybody to be able to claim ulterior motives of my ego.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what you get with most of the indie crap, especially around here. It's somebody's pet project.
Yeah.
Somebody who wasn't good enough to actually make it in the big time.
Yeah.
So now they've created their own big time with them on top.
And it's about leadership again, too. You know, it was really bad when it started in 98. I want to say 98, when I started at North American Wrestling Federation, where all of a sudden the fans were fucking understanding what this term meant about. They thought they understood, and the boys thought they understood. Oh, man, you're doing the job, man. You know what I mean? Putting him over, man. Like, that was like the bad shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? If somebody doesn't lose, you're fucked. There's a winner, there's a loser. Get it, assholes? But that was the most fucking frustrating shit. So I had to show these guys that I was training in the company I was building. If I put everybody over, you shut the fuck up when it comes time to do the fucking job. And that's what got over. We were doing what everybody else wasn't. Yeah. Like we do today, you know. Fucking hilarious though, huh? I forgot all about that. You know.
Hey, well, that's a good thing about this podcast. Not only do I learn things, not only do they learn things.
Well, you remind me.
But I feel like as you tell these stories and you reminisce about the journey, you remember these little details that you forgot.
Yes, and it's good for us in the long run. You know, look for that shit to be implemented in one way, shape, or form. I love when I steal from myself. You know, I mean, ideas and stuff that I forgot, because there's been so much, dude. You know, that year, I produced 2001. I produced 52 weeks of television, and I ran 44 events. You know, in a year, with no name value, and made money. You know, unbelievable, huh?
Yeah. And I mean, it's working. It's working for us. I mean, because so many other promotions in the area, like I said, whoever the promoter is, whoever the booker is, it's their pet project. They've created their own version of the big time, put themselves on top. They're not doing half as good as we are right now. We just crossed 40,000 subscribers on YouTube just one day before we recorded this. So thank you guys for that.
I love that part where you say that, and it's factual, that we have more subscribers than all the area wrestling companies combined.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even the ones that have a much bigger budget than we do.
Yes, and use bigger names than we do. You know? But, you know, at the end of the day, this shit's about leadership and a humility. Then I also show people that it doesn't make a fuck. I know how to build you back up. I know how to build me back up. You know what I mean? I actually meant something in that area. You know what I mean? I used to sell T-shirts and pictures like a motherfucker. That's how I supported my family. You know? Yeah. And it's a good example to show people. You can talk to a lot of people, even like Andy Anderson. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll see how he puts me over about what I taught him about life and business. Matt Longtime's another one. You know, I mean, he's had fucking presentations at his company, Pivot Points, quoting me. You know what I mean? And, you know, I think that's just hilarious, but also awesome how you can impact people on a lot of fronts. You know what I mean?
Oh, if anybody's around you for more than just a short length of time, I think all of us who have been around you long enough, I know me, Chase, Inestra, Vine, we've all picked up little things from you. Before I met you, it's involuntary now that when somebody tells me something I didn't know, I just involuntarily go,
Well, here's something to an example, and I think our Patreon listeners will appreciate this because you know you're backing the right motherfucking horse. You know, last week what happened? Here's World Wrestling Entertainment in the worst place they've been in, I would say ever. You know, even during the Monday Night Wars because of Corona, the bullshit, real or perceived, it doesn't make a fucking scenario. And I can get in touch with the head of talent relations, second only to Vince McMahon. I mean, how many hours did it take for him to get back to me with a response? And and I showed you how to speak with him. I'm a goofy bastard, but I know how to do business. You know what I mean? And I know how to do business, especially, and I've appreciated this since our inception, because it made me learn it or do it and implement it, is dealing with a poor guy like Kanyon Kamen who came into this from a non-wrestling background, as far away from pro wrestling as they possibly could get, to eliminate other issues and to capture what their mission statement was, which inevitably makes that motherfucking stock, which is what powers that company, worth a shit, you know? But I know how to work with him now. A wrestling person who isn't a wrestling person who now is a wrestling person. You know what I mean? I know how to get him to respond and how to be frank without being goofy or too goofy, but also be pleasant in the same scenario. And, you know, he can see that humility, and he knows that responding to me when he gets all those emails all the time, and he said Vince is beck and call, we'll take that time to get back to him because he knows it doesn't fall on deaf ears. I fucking get it. And if I fucking get it, it's going to impact their shit. You know? Mm-hmm. We partnered up together, he and I, to fucking get Kalisto a tryout and hired. You know? I don't think that he's the biggest whatever, the biggest star. He was supposed to, they were trying to groom him to be the next Rey Mysterio. Okay? But he's done some good business for them. He's made him some fucking money and himself. You know, and that was me and
in the midst of all the cutbacks they've had, I haven't seen his name on one single list, which means he's still working for him despite the cutbacks.
He re-signed the contract.
Yeah.
Right before the shit, or during the shit.
Yeah, so obviously, even though they started to push him and then they kind of scaled back, obviously they still see something in the guy. Well, to keep him around.
Yes, man. He's a great worker. He's a great, innovative worker, man. And he's a nice kid.
Well, and you have to remember, too, they had enough faith in him to let him actually open up WrestleMania 32 in front of 100,000 people.
I just don't think he took the ball and ran with it. You got to meet him halfway, and it's not anything against him personally. There's just certain people, like, he needed more Miz in him. You know? Miz knew how to be tenacious. You know? Tenacious. Tenacity. True tenacity, not many people have.
Yeah.
You know?
And it comes alive every single week. Like I said, I don't think there's anybody I've ever been more wrong about than Miz.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, I could foretell that at the time. You know, and you could probably ask Long Time, who was there at the time, that gets me to say that, you know. That will verify that I said that shit, you know, and that's how I learned how to think by, you know, working up there 1,000 times and actually, you know, I've told you before, I've had McMahon come up to me 30 times himself and I watch him, even if it's just breaking balls with the other old timers, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I've had the guy come up to me on 3 occasions and say personally, don't think that I don't realize and notice what you do for us. You know what I mean? And appreciate. You know? Yeah. So that's where it comes from. You know, and that's what is at the helm of PPW. That's why we've got to keep fucking hanging on, because we are going to impact the fucking industry. Watch. The quality of matches from Saturday night and the Saturday before were unfucking believable. You know, I forgot I know how to develop young talent. You know, and it's undeniable when you watch these motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. I remember on Saturday, I can't even remember how many chants of "This is wrestling." That has become my favorite chant in all of wrestling, even more than "This is awesome" or what have you. When the fans chant "This is wrestling," that's my favorite thing to hear.
Oh man, it was great. You know, we're coming back from this corona, but the goddamn houses are getting bigger. People are just weighing the risk versus, you know, getting the fuck out. You know what I mean? Watching the fact that none of us have corona and none of our fans have contracted corona that have showed up. You know what I mean? So it's getting better. But I mean, these fucking guys are really coming together. So that 30-man Iron Man fucking, the King of the Iron Man, what a great fucking concept.
Unbelievable.
Getting over like fucking crazy. You don't even know this yet, but please put it up later, and I'll have John make some art for it by tomorrow. This week, Tim Castle, who, by the way, I've noticed the internet really fucking lit up for by defeating Matt Vine for that title, for the King of the Iron Man.
Oh my god, we didn't even boost it. It got about 2,000 organic views.
Will be facing Inestra and defending that motherfucker this Saturday night.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
We're going to have 2 teams of guys. They will be randomly picked. They will have a tournament, elimination style, tournament gauntlet, whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay? And the winner of those 2 teams, or those 2 sections, those 2
brackets, if it's a tournament.
What's another name?
Pools?
I don't fucking know.
I know in rugby.
I'm going to call them teams because it's simpler for me.
I know in rugby when they divide up all the teams to play in the World Cup, they do it in pools, so.
Yeah, but
I think they do the same thing in soccer.
I don't know how to translate that shit to our stuff.
To wrestling,
you know?
yeah, I know. But
so people that don't know who we are stop and go, what do they mean, you know? But there's going to be 2 groups. They're going to face each other, and the last 2 of those groups will face Vine for the Challenge Pro Cup Saturday night, you know? So I'm really fucking into seeing how these 2 original concept matches come to fruition Saturday night.
Oh my god, it's going to be unbelievable. And it's the suspense of not knowing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be excited for a match and know who the participants are, but when you don't know what's coming, I mean, take a look at what happened on Saturday with that number 1 contenders.
Fucking unbelievable. What a great, oh fuck. And the main event, the title, Jose and Inestra, motherfucker.
2 of the, I think I even said on commentary, 2 of the best Latino American professional wrestlers in the industry today.
Dude, they're 2 of the best. I don't care if they're fucking pink. Their Saturday night, they were. You know what I mean? They were.
Yeah.
That fucking match would have got over in front of a WWE crowd, an Impact crowd, an Evolve crowd, even a fucking Japanese crowd. Those motherfuckers are versatile.
Oh, God, yeah.
And same with fucking Castle was really coming along versus Vine in that 30-man Iron Man.
Yeah.
30-minute Iron Man, sorry.
Yeah, and, I mean, he snuck out that victory at almost literally, I think there were 15 seconds left on the clock. He finally got ahead on the scoreboard.
Unbelievable.
Surprised everybody. And it's his first pro wrestling championship, so, I mean, he's got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
Not just for that, but just for the overall performance and for how far he's come. When did he start wrestling for us? Like a year ago?
A year ago.
Yeah.
In a fucking year, he's already better than you fucking 10-year indie vets out
there.
there.
And you said it earlier. The internet is blowing up for him.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool to see.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's because the fans today are getting. I legitimately believe the fans today are getting tired from sports entertainment.
They want wrestling, and Premier Pro Wrestling is a wrestling company. And we should make a shirt that says that. Premier Pro Wrestling, capital letters, a wrestling company.
Yeah. defend pro wrestling.
That's what we are,
Yeah. Exactly. And well, we said it on here before. There's a big difference between independent professional wrestling and indie wrestling.
Yeah. We're an independent company, but we are not indie wrestling. They are not in any way, shape, or form my fucking compadres, equals, and I'm not being mean. It's just fact. I got to distance myself from the bullshit. I owe it to myself and all you motherfuckers like you that depend on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is coming from all of your experience with, at the tail end of what were the territories and things like that. All the, these indie promotions, they don't have that kind of experience. And bringing that to our stuff, I feel like has really, really benefited because it's something not new, but it's something different to what at least your casual fan is used to seeing out of the industry today.
Well, and here's the other thing. I'm not like old-timey 1980s wrestling, okay? But I have a great gift of what I have one of my greatest assets aside of after you go from my experiences and balls from actually taking risks to gain those experiences is I have reading retention like a motherfucker. I really do. It's funny. It blows my mind. I'm a savant. It's too bad I never had an opportunity to get an education. Honestly. But I am very good at watching what's going on, what's trending, not inside wrestling. I don't pay attention to trends inside my industry very, very often. A little bit, but I don't follow. But I follow such amazing things in entertainment, in arts, in music, in politics, in religion, and I get a good pulse on what dominates all at the same time, and then I bring our thinking and our bullshit into the times, 2020,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just real good at taking that stuff, taking my time to think about it, and then having it on the forefront when it's go time on a Saturday night.
Yeah, well, this podcast and Patreon is a perfect example. We're not looking at what other wrestling podcasts are doing or what other wrestling organizations are doing.
Of them, brother.
What's our primary influence, or at least your primary influence when it comes to this thing? It's Cody and Noel of the Tiny Meat Gang, two guys who have nothing to do with professional wrestling, but they've made a killer living off of doing their podcast and off of doing their social media stuff.
Honestly, exactly, man. And there's so many others like Cody and Noel. And I love the piss out of this 2020 generation. Not the narcissists, but I'm talking about kids like Cody and Noel and countless others that are making a living just being themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and Noel, and what's that other kid, Gianna, that does the vlogs?
David Dobrik?
David Dobrik.
That wasn't Gianna, that was me.
Nothing but love and respect for what those fucking geniuses are doing.
Yeah. Well, and especially right now, there are young people out there, in their 20s who are making six figures during a pandemic and during an economic downturn as a result of a pandemic, getting on the internet, being creative,
and being themselves,
putting out things that people want to see.
Can you think of anything fucking smarter or healthier?
No.
That's
why all due respect to all the women out there making money hand over fist for posting lingerie photos on OnlyFans because they're making more money than most bankers are making.
That's funny, man. But anyway,
you don't have to agree with it, but all due respect to them.
So Patreon, I'm predicting and I'm hoping that it's going to be a future of a way a lot of people get their entertainment.
And I think it will. It will because a lot of the other platforms, they charge you hand over fist just to use the platform or everything. And Patreon does take a little bit, but it's pennies. Yeah. It really is compared to what a lot of these other platforms charge.
Yep. And I like how they do things and how it's whatever fuck, man. Whatever fuck. So have we decided yet? And we should decide right here and now. Let's go ahead and fucking put the Iron Man match from last week for Tim Castle and Matt Vine on Patreon.
Absolutely. I think our patrons would love to see that.
I do too. And we got to grow this motherfucker, so please share it. Thanks for fucking patronizing us,
Yeah, and come out and see us this weekend again.
If possible, The other thing about Patreon is we can play to the global market. You know what I mean? We've got 40,000 fucking subscribers. We have to start getting our subscribers to subscribe to our Patreon where they can get, 2 times a month, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, 5 times a month, 6 times a month, 7 times a month, 8 times a month, 9 times a month, 10 times a month, 11 times a month, 12 times a month, 13 times a month, 14 times a month, 15 times a month, 16 times a month, 17 times a month, 18 times a month, 19 times a month, 20 times a month, 21 times a month, 22 times a month, 23 times a month, 24 times a month, 25 times a month, 26 times a month, 27 times a month, 28 times a month, 29 times a month, 30 times a month, 31 times a month, 32 times a month, 33 times a month, 34 times a month, 35 times a month, 36 times a month, 37 times a month, 38 times a month, 39 times a month, 40 times a the who, what, when, where, and why of what they see on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You know.
But beta testing phase, we're still feeling it out. So, but it's growing.
Yeah, I feel
it's growing. We actually doubled our patrons within a month. So eternally grateful for that.
Fucking I didn't know that. But I'm glad I didn't know that, because then I don't have to stress about it, and we can just sit here and be our fucking selves. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And come out this Saturday, because
if possible.
If possible, if you can make it, come out this Saturday. Again, we're going to have Tim Castle's first defense of the King of the Iron Man against Inestra. And I think those two actually already, they had an Iron Man match a while ago, like before the Corona, I think. And it was fantastic. So I can only imagine now that Castle's got all this fire under him and all this momentum.
4 or 5 months down
and
the road,
Inestra is back, and honestly, after what I saw on Saturday, I'd say better than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be one to watch. And then we've got Matt Vine defending the Challenge Pro Cup against two yet-to-be-determined opponents, because they're going to be decided in that two-team tournament. We'll figure out a catchy name for that.
Yeah, we will, and it won't be too complicated to figure out, because people, I know they don't. You guys don't want your wrestling served up too fucking complicated, you know.
No. We're trying to be innovative while still honoring the art that is pro wrestling, while not confusing the shit out of people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to find a nice healthy balance, and honestly, I think we're finding it.
Yeah.
I think we're finding it with flying colors.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, man, this thing is going to take off, and we have a lot of ingredients to actually become a viable alternative, you know?
Definitely.
Biggest things are our fucking attitude.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think we've got guys with the best attitudes there is. I mean, no egos. No egos. And we said it before. Anybody who brings an ego in, they either see themselves out because they realize, oh, they're not putting me over, I deserve to get over, I'm going to go somewhere else, or our guys see them to the door and say, get the hell out of here with that bullshit.
They don't want to work with you. Yeah.
So thank you guys for another week of listening. Thank you guys for your continued support. We know times are still kind of tough, so we appreciate anything you guys are putting into Patreon right now, and just even for just your views on YouTube and your subscriptions on YouTube, because we wouldn't have gotten to that 40,000 without you guys.
And let me put the final word in, and this is something
yours.
I want you guys to ponder. Life is a shit sandwich, okay? But the more bread you have, the less shit you have to eat.